Ed Bernstein Show. Now, here's Ed.
Good afternoon. You know, Southern Nevada continues to grow and evolve, and it's bringing new opportunities and new challenges to our community. Joining us today is Clark County Commissioner Michael Naft. He's a leader focused on development, sustainability, and improving the quality of life for all residents. We'll talk about the future of Las Vegas and the issues that matter most to our community. Please welcome Commissioner Michael Naft, and I should say Commission Chairman Michael Naft.
It's good to see you, Ed. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, what's involved in being a chairman? I mean, it's kind of like being the mayor in the city, but you're the chairman in the county?
Well, first, what's involved is you got to be able to get 4 votes to become chairman. The way our body works is the chair is elected and the vice chair are elected from the 7 commissioners. So every other year we have an election. I was fortunate to receive the unanimous support of my colleagues to serve for the next 2 years as the chairman. And essentially what the core legal responsibility of the chair of the county commission is just to run the meetings, right? We hold our public hearings on Tuesdays and Wednesdays every other week, and running and facilitating those meetings is really the first legal step. But then, of course, beyond that, you're a spokesperson for the county, and you're hopefully trying to build bridges so that we can come to consensus to do what you just spoke about, make Clark County the best place to live and to work.
But there seems to me to be a balance in that job. I watch some of the county commission hearings on television, and sometimes you get people that, you know, stand up and ask questions that, you know, as a viewer, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, sit down and shut up, you know. But as the chairman, you can't say that,
no.
Right? And you're really a kind man. I mean, you really have great empathy for people. So, I mean, how do you balance that?
One thing that I always point to when sometimes I get to give tours, particularly to young people of the county building and students, and something that I always point to is what makes our government center, specifically our county chambers, so unique is that it's really the only one that is built the way it's built. And when you walk in there, you'll know just what I mean, which is the electeds, the people who serve and represent the citizens of Clark County, they are physically at the lowest level in that room, and the public is lifted up beyond them versus a normal council chamber where you might have the city council and the mayor sitting high above everybody else. We sit at the lower level. The audience, kind of a reverse amphitheater, sits at the top. And that is a physical demonstration of, I think, what you're getting at, which is that the citizens come first. We are there to work for them, to do their business. They are the taxpayers who are funding this whole operation. And if it means taking some questions or listening to comments from the public that I might personally not agree with, I always, by that physical reminder, am made to be more patient and more understanding, and am literally reminded that that's what I'm there for, is to both hear from them, hear what the concerns are, and then hopefully get to work to address them.
And do you find that with the board that we have, and your 7 members, that is, because you used to work in the federal government at one time, is it easier to get things done, you know, in a small group of 7 people?
Not only is it easier to get things done, you know, like I said, you have to be able to count to yourself plus 3, right, in order to move the needle at the county. So that's not quite the same as legislative bodies, which are just so tied down these days, and whether it's in the state capitol or Washington, D.C., it's near impossible for one person to really move the needle in a meaningful way. Here at the county, you know, we've got an $11.5 billion budget, and we can set priorities and we can move the agenda. But I think what also makes us unique is that each of us are there every day in the building. Our offices are not separated or segregated. We're not out in district offices in all parts of the valley, but we're there. We are, you know, literally I share walls with 2 of my colleagues, right? And so you see each other in the hallway, and even when you disagree, you can, you know that you're gonna see them in the lunchroom, and you're gonna have conversation, and you're gonna care about what's happening in their lives. And I think for the sake of politics and government, that is you know, I wish all forms of government could be that collegiate and really have that kind of relationship.
Or at one time, it seems like we used to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And you also have the challenge of balancing your personal life. I mean, you have a job, you have the Clark County Commission chairman, you have young children. That's got to be challenging as well.
It's challenging, but it's really rewarding. I genuinely feel that public service is a way to make the world a better place and really to give my kids the same high quality of life that I had growing up here. I want to be extended to them and to their peers. And so, yes, of course, it's a balancing act. I'm very lucky. I get to, pick my kids up in the evenings, and they come with me to some of our parks events on the weekends, and they are a big part of my service and representation of the district.
You bring up growing up here. The biggest question I get from people, having been here 50 years, is what is the difference? What changes have you really seen? Let me ask you that question.
Yeah. There's a lot. Some are good and some are bad, right? We're sitting in downtown Las Vegas. I went to high school at the Las Vegas Academy. And at the time, 7th and Bridger was a difficult place to be when I was at school there. You had to navigate a whole cross-section of people in order to get to your class. That area is much better than it was then, right? You've got the container park, you've got tons of development happening in the city of Las Vegas, a lot of that for the better. But I think it would be blind not to admit that some things have gotten much more difficult, right? Our community has gotten bigger. We are still very much, this whole state is still a small town. But we have become more complex, a little bit larger. It's a little bit harder to do business here, which I think is wrong. Keeping up with that demand at a local level, a lot of what I do is really municipal city services because the vast majority of my district is in unincorporated Clark County. So for 85% of my constituents, I'm doing all of the regional services, but we're also doing, police, potholes, parks and recreation, all of the roads, and all of those things that are very difficult to keep up on. I built, 2 years ago, we opened the Silverado Ranch Community Center, something I'm really deeply proud of. That community center was the first community center to be built in the township of Enterprise. That is astonishing. Enterprise is the fastest growing township. If it were a incorporated city, it would be by far the fastest growing city in the state of Nevada and in the West. And the fact that that area didn't have a community center is shameful, but it's also a representation of the fact that keeping up with the growth that we have experienced here is a challenge.
Yeah, and of course, with growth comes traffic. And you've been at the forefront of trying your best to do, because a lot of it's not county controlled, right? And a lot of it is state and federal controlled.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of partnership that needs to happen when you talk about traversing our roads. Right. Traffic safety is the issue area that I have focused so much of my attention on because I believe that it is directly a quality of life issue. If your kids aren't feeling comfortable, or if you're not comfortable with your kids getting themselves to and from school, or you're not feeling able to safely drive or to navigate the roads, that impacts every other part of your life.
I don't remember that being an issue 20, 30 years ago about having these pedestrian accidents by school zones. I mean, is that more of a recent thing?
I think it's a symptom of a few things. One, no doubt the numbers have gone up, and the reason for that, I think there's a lot we could attribute to it. I would never pass the buck and steer away from engineering, and that's in the county's job description, right? We've got to engineer roads that are built for safety, that are built better, that are built to protect both the individual driving, but also the person just walking or biking to school. But there are also a lot of other human behaviors that have changed. You can't ignore the fact that both people who are walking are captivated by their cell phones, as are people driving. There's a lot more anger in the world today than there was 20, 30 years ago, and I think that also manifests in the way that people drive. A little bit more patience would frankly save lives.
Yeah, and of course with all the construction going on, which is, look, it's almost like be careful what you ask for. On one hand, the roads are old, they have to be resurfaced, you need more lanes, there's more traffic. So, I mean, I guess the federal government had passed some bills, putting money into this infrastructure. And then, fast forward a year or two later, all of a sudden there's red, orange cones all over the place, right? I mean, you can hardly go down a street anymore without construction.
You hit the nail on the head. People want reliable roads that are a very high standard, that do not have the potholes, that are maintained every 7 years and then every 20 years with full road replacements. People want that, no doubt about it. What comes with that is a lot of construction. Where I think we need to continue to do better is with the collaboration with other entities that have access to the road. And what I mean by that is it's almost too easy to see the cones and get mad at, okay, the city is doing work again, the county's doing work again, here we go. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's not the county or the city doing the work. It could be one of a dozen utilities that has access to utilize the roads. It could be telecom, it could be fiber going in. It could be a number of other infrastructure that's going in and under the roads. We have got to make sure that we're collaborating so that when, so let's say the county does come in with a road project and the road's going to be under construction, that's the time to lay all your fiber. That's the time to fix any water pipes or sewage that needs to be fixed. Do it at that time. And the county has gotten better at making sure that we open the invitation when the road's open, but there's got to be some hammers there. And what I mean is, if a utility doesn't do it during that window, we've got to make sure that we're holding firm on things called no-cut rules, which means that if a road's been done in, say, the last 5 years, you're not going to rip it up again. That's just wasting taxpayer money and is very aggravating for people.
Yeah, it is. And one of of all the problems with population and roads and construction, in addition to that, now we have these e-bikes.
Yes.
That, I don't know, you see these 10-year-old kids, driving down the street going 30 miles an hour in an e-bike. I mean, I hold my breath when I see them drive by. I mean, you hit a little hole or pothole or something in the road and you're history.
It's scary stuff. There is nothing inherently dangerous about an e-bike or e-scooter, but when you merge it with an uneducated individual, I mean uneducated in terms of their experience on the roadway, and you merge that with regular traffic flows, with both cyclists, traditional cyclists, and pedestrians who are scared to jump out of the way, and cars who cannot easily see these things, it's really a recipe for disaster. And we've seen that borne out. The number of individuals who have been seriously injured and hit is dramatically higher on these devices, and it's really problematic. I've supported efforts at the county level and city levels to bring some kind of common sense regulation around these things, but at the end of the day, we need state laws to really govern them. In the county, something I am proud of, it seems like it should be common sense, but we do have the helmet law. So if you're on one of these devices, you've got to wear a helmet. It's the law. Helmets save lives. I've done some discussions with our trauma surgeons at UMC. They can testify firsthand to the life-saving equipment that can be provided. But there's also got to be an enormous amount of education. That truly starts with parents too. These are not toys. These are vehicles that are going to be going with the flow of traffic, that are going to be either on or next to traffic, and you've got to provide some education to kids before you just toss them one of these things.
So when you say that, does that mean requiring them to go through some sort of class, or?
I believe there ought to be some formalized education that comes along with it. It's a responsibility to use one of these devices, and there are models like that in Utah where people who are not eligible for a driver's license or may not need a full driver's license but want to go on an ATV have to get an education card in order to legally operate an ATV. That's something that we could do here that would provide at least some base level of information and education to both make the operator feel safer, but also, to your point, when you're out driving in your car, making sure that when you're making a right turn, the person who's coming from your left on an e-scooter, who's shorter than your car, less visible, unprotected by a ton of steel, making sure that person is safe as they traverse the road.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, because you still can't
it's
get
a tall order.
motorcyclists to do that when
This
you're on
is
the
correct,
freeway.
yes.
Right? And sometimes, where did he come from?
Yes.
Driving down between two lanes. I mean, that's a task. You mentioned UMC.
Yeah.
UMC is still basically run by the county commission, right?
It is the public hospital, and it's the county hospital. The Clark County Commission serves as the board of trustees over that hospital. There's a board of directors who make day-to-day medical healthcare related decisions. And then we have the authority over large things, $5 million purchases and above, significant policy decisions. Those things are headed by the county commission.
And because there's been talk for a number of years about Children's Hospital here in Southern Nevada. I know that UMC has kind of a children's hospital, but it's not.
They do, but I'm really proud that we're actually stepping forward on this.
Yeah.
It won't be through UMC, but Intermountain is moving forward with what will be Nevada's first pediatric hospital. We need this to happen. They are moving forward with $1 billion investment. It's going to be at the Harry Reid Research Park, which is in the district that I represent, but it will make the difference between when you really need serious care, taking your kid to California or Utah, Phoenix, or bringing them to the Southwest. And not only will it provide a close, easy to access center and a hub for medical, but it will serve as probably the best tool that we have to attract more physicians to our area, people that are in niche specialties that we need so badly here. I'm really bullish on this hospital. I think it is going to be one of the most significant game changers in this community in my time on the county commission.
And when would we expect that to be open and running?
They're moving through with their entitlements. That'll be the next step. So there'll be public hearings at town advisory boards and then through to the Clark County Commission in our zoning capacity. That'll be in the next couple months. And then beyond that, it's a complex and a technical build, so it takes a little bit more than just putting up a tower. So you can see probably 2-year timeline for construction, but it is within reach. We are in the not too distant future from having this facility.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Finally.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Finally. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, we're talking about caring for children, but also caring for animals has been a big topic in the county commission. I didn't quite understand. Maybe you can create some of the history for me of, because it seems like the city's been fighting with animal shelters and the county, and what's the difference between them? How many do we have? What do we really need? And what's going on there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in 2003, the city and the county entered into a partnership for our sheltering services with the Animal Foundation. So the Animal Foundation, we have a joint agreement with the 2 jurisdictions and with the nonprofit entity, the Animal Foundation. They run the shelter for both of our city and county. And so that is a large task. And to put it in perspective, in 2003, when this agreement was signed, there were 1.5 million people in Clark County. I don't know how that translates to the animal population, but let's presume that it is significantly more now than it was then.
Right.
And then you look at the geographic mess that we're talking about, from Bunkerville to Laughlin, all being serviced by one shelter in downtown Las Vegas. And over the years, there's been lots of challenges, there's been conflict and personality issues. This is a very, very difficult space that we're in. There's no right answer when it comes to sheltering. It's personal, it's emotional to people. But something that I have felt strongly about is that this model of one shelter for these 2 enormous jurisdictions is not sustainable, right? We now have over 2.5 million people here. The geography hasn't gotten any shorter, it's gotten longer. What that means is our animal control officers take longer every time they're having to transport an animal. You think about that distance they have to drive. They're out of the field for a significant amount of time. So the county commission has made the decision that we are going to open another shelter. It will be a similar setup. This won't be a county-run shelter like, say, the city of Henderson. They operate their own shelter. They do it internally. We will have a similar model to what we have now. We'll go out for RFQ or RFP and see who out there can really do a great job and a responsible job running this shelter for the community. But it will be strategically located in the southwest near Trop and the 215. It will be built by Clark County. It will be our secondary shelter and will, I'm hopeful, provide a real opportunity to reduce overcrowding and capacity issues that we are almost constantly facing at the Animal Foundation, and also provide another entity with an opportunity to spread the word and to foster and adopt and get these animals hopefully out into loving homes.
Right, so it's really a matter of, hey, we just need more facilities, more space, and be able to keep these animals, safe and protected during a period of time where what happens? I mean, what happens with an animal? X number of days they hold the animals and then they euthanize them after.
Yeah, essentially, and that's what we don't want to happen. It would be my preference that our community not need a shelter of any kind, right? That animals get to be in loving homes, but that's not the case. And there needs to be at least some transition period of time when they can either be reunited with their families, or they could be united with a new and loving home that can support them and take care of them in a meaningful way. And so I believe that this will allow us a little bit more time and a little bit more capacity to do that.
Is animal shelter only for cats and dogs, or includes other animals? I mean, what happens when you find a coyote, for instance?
So coyotes are under wildlife, so they are not going to the shelter, but certainly you'll find bunnies at the Animal Foundation.
Turtles.
You'll find, you can find turtles. You can find all kinds of other animals there too. It's not, they don't discriminate to just cats and dogs.
Okay. The other thing I'd love you to bring me up to date on is the Boring Corporation is, with the Tesla thing that's running underground. I've never seen it.
Oh.
I guess I should, take a look one of these days.
They'll give you a tour.
Yeah, but it started just from the convention center at one time. Now there's talk. I guess there's a process that we're working on to get people to the airport and from the airport to the hotels and back and forth.
That's right. So the Loop, the Vegas Loop system, which is a product of the Boring Company, began just as you said. It was an RFQ that the Las Vegas Convention Center put out for internal transportation, how you can get, once we built the West Hall, how you can get from the West Hall to the Central Hall and move around the system, move around the campus. That happened, and to tell you the truth, it's actually the most highly rated of all the things that the convention center surveys its customers on. It is by far the most highly rated thing that they do, right? It's got perfect marks. People like it as a transportation solution for the convention center. They've since expanded to 8 stations right now, so think Resorts World, and they are continuing to expand kind of up the strip. They have been permitted. Well, I'll tell you what's in our control. Clark County a number of years ago adopted our franchise agreement with them, so that's revenue sharing and what allows them to enter the public right-of-way. And then we've adopted about a land use plan that calls for around 60 or so stations or platforms or jumping on and off points. They certainly have a desire to get to the airport. Those conversations continue. They can do it at a surface level right now. But beyond that, the city of Las Vegas just licensed their first station on the other side of Sahara. And they'll continue to move forward. And what's important to me is that we are advocating for and fighting for an alternative transportation solution. We recognize that we need that, but doing it in a safe way. And so our fire chief has been the lead for the county in making sure that we're negotiating a system where our firefighters can enter and exit, where there's ingress and egress that is compatible to the life-saving efforts that may, hopefully not, but may need to happen.
Well, look, we've always tried to accomplish or solve this kind of problem. And the monorail was, an attempt to do that. And so what happens with the monorail now?
So about 2 years ago, the Las Vegas Convention Visitors Authority purchased the monorail. So we operate that. That has an end of life, right? Because those trains are not made anymore. The parts are not in production anymore. And so for the time being, it is running safely. It's running extremely efficiently. It's actually making a profit for the first time in quite a while under the ownership of the LVCVA, but it will have an end of life. And so figuring out how you can repurpose those platforms in a way, I think will be part of the whole master solution for transportation.
Yeah. Well, so looking forward, now that you recently, this year, 26, became the chairman of the Clark County Commission, and what is it, a 2-year term?
It is.
What is it, looking forward, that if you had like one thing to accomplish in the next 2
Just
years
one?
as chairman, just one?
I'm going to try to do more than that. But,
Okay, well, give me your laundry list.
Yeah, well, so
we have a minute left.
We touched on it a little bit,
Yeah.
but Public Works is our department that oversees a lot of the things that I care a lot about. Some of those traffic safety issues, the engineering. I'd like to revisit our road design standards to make sure that we are designing, engineering, and building roads that accommodate not just the driver, but everybody who utilizes the road system in a safe and efficient way. That's something that is really high on my priority list. Beyond that, I want to make sure that we are telling the story of Clark County. County does so many critically important things that touch people's life every day. Making sure they're aware of that is really important to me.
Well, and then one day, because I see as I'm driving down the 15, there is a building going up, and it looks like it's the train station. It's going to take me to California.
That's right.
Right? That's what it is. We'll talk about that next time you're here.
To be continued.
Okay. Thank you, Clark County Commission Chairman Michael Naft. Thank you.